Hey everyone, and welcome to today's live stream of CloudFlex Broadcast. I am really excited to be here with my co-host Lang. Welcome back.
Hi, Jonas. How's it going? I'm excited to be back because we got a lot of exciting updates.
Yeah, the last time you saw us here on LinkedIn was just before NAB, where we did a little pre-NAB preview. And today we're back, not only with updates, but also with all the feedback and amazing things we've had. And to get us started, Lang, why don't you lead us down the road of where we started and how we got here?
Yeah, I can absolutely do that. Before we jump into CloudFlex, I want to share the story of how we got here. So for those of you who don't know what CloudFlex is, it makes cloud production easier. That's basically why we built it. We built it for ourselves because 5 years ago, when we started all this cloud production stuff, we didn't really have a lot of tools. So you kind of had to do it yourself. Everything was custom built on the fly, built for specific projects. And many of the streaming tools that we have now just simply didn't exist. So it wasn't easy. We fought with AWS permissions. We had to tweak countless IAM files, config files, tested every encoder that would work with the cloud. And we did a lot of things we probably shouldn't have, sharing IP addresses, passwords, juggling VPN access, and all of that stuff. All of that stuff was just not simple. So we built a tool to make everything that we were doing with cloud production simple to get your team in, simple to get access to the cloud resources, simple to onboard somebody, taking all that complexity out of the cloud and making it just as easy as sitting down and working with a machine on site. So that's what brings us to today. Jonas and I have some exciting updates that we want to talk about. And for those of you that are new to CloudFlex, you're going to get a good overview of what it does. For those of you who have already seen it, we're going to be sharing some of the new features of our Flow Manager that we think you're going to like. So Jonas, why don't you jump in here and show us CloudFlex. Show us what we've
Yeah,
been
so
working on.
we're going to look at my screen. We're going to have a look at CloudFlex Broadcast. This is our website. This is the latest version to all our existing customers. This is the version you're going to get by hopefully end of this week when it got through our QA and testing. So that is live right now in our staging environment. For those of you who have never seen it, this is what it looks like when you first come into CloudFlex. Obviously, we went through onboarding. We have multiple studios here. Studios are a logical group that allow you to group resources and also manage access through it. So we have our groups here. You can have video feeds, which is feeds that you can display in your browser. We support WebRTC over the web protocol, iframe, so you can bring in your YouTube, other WebRTC, and also, if we go to Instance Manager, this is where you manage all your compute instances. You can see that right now I have some playout running, a couple remixes. You can also see that we support any production core you can run on a Linux or Windows system. We can just put it into the cloud and make it accessible through CloudFlex. So we support from ROS videos, Carbonite Code, VisVector, TriCaster of any flavor that you would like, VisRT Vector, OBS, vMix, anything you can think of that runs, we can make it work in the cloud. But also edit systems, which is one big advantage if you have editors and you are tired of like needing to pay for higher bandwidth to up and download files, anything like that. We now enable you to just invite them to your CloudFlex account and spin them up a Premiere Pro Resolve instance in the cloud that they can use to edit. But now let's get to the exciting part. We have Flow Manager, and you probably have already seen this during our pre-NAB thing, and you're maybe asking, how is this new and why is this so exciting? one of the things that we really want to make sure is that we serve two markets. Not only the managed market where like we take care of the compute, like there's a single bill you need to pay. We abstract all the AWS complexity away. We manage those relationships. We're here. We're your single solution that gives you everything you need. But also we know that that doesn't always fit the bill. And I know, Lang, that is probably something that you have also come into when working on these cloud productions. It's like tools like StreamYard or similar are great until you need this little thing more that then requires you to completely break out.
Right. Until you need to make one little change, you need an extra audio bus or you need something custom, and you just can't do it because you're locked into the way that an all-in-one tool works.
And that's really where CloudFlex wants to come in. Like, let's say you have a podcast right now that you're running with vMix. We don't want to tell you, hey, please retrain all your stuff, all that muscle memory, just to do it in the cloud because you see the benefits of the cloud. We want to say, hey, sure, you can run vMix in the cloud. If you've been using TriCasters right now, sure, you can run TriCaster Vector in the cloud and use that. So you don't need to retrain your operators. You don't need to relearn that muscle memory. It's not like, oh, what am I going to find today? But that is where all of the managed comes in, right? We have a managed solution where we manage all the abstraction. We do all of that. You never get a bill from AWS. We manage all that for you. But then we also support self-hosted. And where that comes in is if you have internal resources already that use AWS, you have pre-existing environments, which I think is one of the biggest things is we play nice with other vendors. Like it's not like, oh, you can't use another, like if you've used another tool in the past and you still have those instances lying around or you build your own instances, you can import those into CloudFlex. Like you don't have to start with deployment, which we don't have right now, which would explain why you don't have to start with that. But because of that, let's have a look on how we bring managed and self-hosted into the Flows environment. So if I go into applications, this is where I have all my settings. What's also new is this idea of a credential. You often know like, hey, I need to like use all of these services on AWS or use, in this case, WMS panel to attach a Nimble server as a flow engine. We make it really simple where you can just type in your credentials here and then we can use it across multiple applications, across multiple flow engines. What is a flow engine, you might ask? Well, glad you're asking. If we go here into the settings for the flow manager, this is where you can now define flow engines. This has been rewritten from the ground up to make sure that we can support multiple flow engine types. So stay tuned for that. We're working on giving you more than just one option there. But also that we can bring in managed flow engines for you. That will, right now, that's a support call and we'll deploy it for you. Later, that will work directly through the deployment tool, or you can add it yourself. So what you do here is you just give it a name, select the type. Right now, like I said, only Nimble. But there is already a dropdown, and that has been some of the most work on this is being able to support self-hosted environments completely with it, and then also be ready for the next engines. You select your credentials, give it an instance ID. Not everything will be tied to an instance ID. So that is optional. And then for Nimble, you just give it the input template ID output for a couple of things, because that's what we use to generate those in and outputs. The server ID you created, I already did that earlier. And then you're good to go. So now if I go to Flow Manager, I have a clean slate. But if I create a new flow, instead of just saying, hey, this is Cam 1, I also select what engine I want to run this on, which that has been really great. In the past, we only supported one single engine. So if you had multiple productions or needed to scale, this is where you would have run into issues. So now I'm going to create this flow. Right now, each flow has a single input. So let's create an SRT input, Cam 1 from SRT. Right now, we just use all IP addresses of the Nimble instance. We will add support for that later. You can do listener or caller if you want to call to like your SRT gateway or something like that. Define max bandwidth and latency. And as soon as you hit create, it's going to be in here creating in the background. It's going to start talking to Nimble and make sure that all of those resources are correctly provisioned. Now I can create an output. Right now we have SRT and NDI outputs with RTMP and WebRTC coming soon. So let's say I want to create the CAM1 to NDI output. I can select that this should be CAM1. And now I'm going to also create that. What it's going to do now is it's going to create that. And I can say, hey, let's start that. So now that is running. But also if, for example, let me stop that so I can create another output. I can also say this is CAM1 to NDI 6. Let's do 25 or 24 FPS. I can say this is CAM1 24 FPS. So now I have a conversion there that is often needed if you work with SRT inputs and need to send it out to NDI. That's something that we just included by default. Now you can start that whole thing and it will start being executed. I can start the outputs. And now it's as simple as that to send an SRT feed in. The Nimble instance, in this case, configured as our flow engine, takes care of it, sends the NDIs out, and now you can use it on your instances. If you've done nice TCV yourself, there's probably this dreadful pop-up that you all know that's like insecure connection. And that is due to like all of the DCV instances using self-signed certs by default, your browser warning you, the DCV client warning you, and that is 2 more clicks and we want to get to a single click. So that is the other thing that's coming with CloudFlex version 1. If I hit this, it's going to open. And of course, I clicked the wrong one. That isn't onboarded. So this is the dreaded screen that we were talking about.
That's okay,
and then
Jonas.
You can get in. And then you can get in. So I am sure, Mike, you have run into that issue a lot. Like, how often have you gone into needing to type in an IP address or something like that, and then needing to accept? And often, like, it's easy to explain, oh yeah, that's a self-signed certificate. But if we're talking about customers who have staff that never touched AWS, they might be a little worried. And it's like, often that simple thing is enough to like not put them at ease anymore. But also we have got really great feedback. And I know, Lang, you have been talking to our customers a lot. Do you have any testimonials or quotes that stood out while talking to them that you want to share?
Of course I do. Of course I do. We've had a couple early adopters that have been using CloudFlex in their production environments pretty regularly. So I just wanted to share a couple of those stories because so far it has solved massive challenges for them. As you can see what Jonas has shown, you can manage multiple control rooms, multiple flow engines, multiple ways to get your cameras up to the cloud from one single interface. And that's why we built it this way, because it's not just one studio, for instance. You can scale this thing out horizontally as much as you want, add as many flow engines as you want. You're really not tied to any limitations from us. And that was really important because we wanted this to just be the intuitive management layer to simplify all the most common things that you're going to need to do: access machines, give other people access, get cameras to the cloud, and convert them to NDI. Those are the core features of a cloud control room. So I want to share some of the customer comments we've had so far. This one is from Chris Russo, the president and technical director of Radar Entertainment Group. He was one of the first early adopters of CloudFlex. And he says, CloudFlex Broadcast has been a game changer for us. Let me just move this over a little bit. It came along at the exact right time for our organization, and we've grown from a few shows to an active production pipeline. It's enhanced our workflow, made scaling easy, and not one person on our team has logged into AWS once. He's talking about the production team. Onboarding and offboarding team members, whether employees or contractors, is simple. They can jump straight into production without needing to touch any cloud infrastructure. CloudFlex is a core part of how we operate. It's helped us stay lean, fast, and focused on great content. We look forward to our continued use of the platform and adopting new products and new features as they become available. Chris is running a team doing live streaming and edit workflows in the cloud. So he's been able to scale that up very easily. And this CloudFlex broadcast was the key to unlocking that for him. Another customer of ours in Canada, Mark F. Lalo, he is a podcast producer, and he does weekly shows for SiriusXM and produce podcasts. He says, when I was introduced to CloudFlex Broadcast, my ability to let any one of my team log in from anywhere, run a full broadcast, I was instantly sold. Getting me up and running literally took hours, and now I've got a fully functional virtual production environment with near zero latency, full control with my Stream Deck, and anyone in my team can step in and run a show. We can do this from anywhere. So that's the kind of stuff that CloudFlex is unlocking for our customers, which is really cool to see because they've been having success with it. And flexibility is the number one feature. If you can run it in a VM, Premiere, Resolve, any switcher that Jonas mentioned, if you can run it in a virtual machine, you can run it in CloudFlex. You can make those deployments and make it work. So that's the big unlock. You can scale your team now horizontally, give someone else the ability to onboard and offboard production team members, and that doesn't always fall solely on the one engineer and AWS guru that you might have on your staff, which is definitely a good thing. You need to take away some of that complexity to make these things scale.
And that's an ongoing theme. Like, it's not like it can't be done. Like, there are cloud production companies and a lot of people running cloud right now. But one of the issues we have found is that often they do require that unicorn kind of person that allows you to be a great technical director, maybe even an audio guy, and then also happen to understand AWS. And as one of the engineers for one of our customers, Chris, it was quite fun to notice when his organization grew in the past, it was like a long, lengthy onboarding process, making sure like, okay, give that freelancer the AIM credentials, give them this file, give them that, make sure they have that hard-coded password. Oh, wait, but this is another one. Make sure they also have that. And like now he grew from like he said, he grew to multiple shows a week with a bunch of freelancers, and I don't even notice it anymore. Like, I don't need to go through onboarding. So it's really also from my own experience how like it is so much easier to scale. When we're doing production with BSCMP Global, it's simple for us to be like, oh, this freelancer is working out for us this event. And this is actually something that will be cool to show for those who haven't seen it. So yeah, this is as simple as it gets for inviting people. If I just want to invite my second clone, all it is I type in the email, decide if they're a member or admin on the organization level. We also have a member does not get any access, and admin gets admin access to everything. So that's the main difference. And then reloads shows up. Now you're invited there. Then if you have your multiple environments, you see that we have our 3 studios here, and giving someone access is as simple as I'll say, hey, Lang, you're working with me on this. I'm going to give you engineer access to the podcast studio. But we're starting work next Monday and we end it by Friday. So now I added a permission, and now that is time boxed, which is really a great feature where like in the past you have to either like remember that you need to disable their access or like change passwords because you shared passwords with them, or just not do it and open up yourself to all of that kind of worms. So that's really where this is great, because it allows you to say, hey, I'm going to give you access. And then if you don't have any access, we don't delete users. They still have their account and they're ready to be like given access at any point again. But for now, they will just not have access. And the other thing is this is built with freelancers and people that work for multiple companies in mind. It is really simple to switch organizations and make sure that, hey, I'm working with this person right now. I have all of those access. I'm working with this company today. I have that access. That is really simple. You can time box it. You can change it at any point in time. And yeah, that is really one of the main features is this first pillar that we believe that you require for cloud production, the access pillar. And a lot of people like at NIB, and I know that Lang, you certainly have been one of those people, is like, hey, when are we going to solve deployment? And for us, one of the biggest issues is like, if you look at competitors and how they start, is everyone starts with deployment, but then they leave you alone when it really comes to the day-to-day production. Like they might let you invite them and they might like allow you to share passwords or something like that, or give you the password that they decrypted from AWS. But we wanted to go the next step, and we really wanted to be an orchestration platform that doesn't stop at deployment. So that isn't what we first focused on. The one big advantage that we do have is deployment is a solved thing for us. Like we have done automated scripted deployment for over 4 years at this point. Ever since we started, it's hundreds, thousands of instances that we have deployed and torn down. It is something that is not hard for us to do. So that is going to be one of the next steps. And now that we're going to talk about what's next for CloudFlex, that is certainly something that's next for CloudFlex, giving you the option to deploy right out of CloudFlex. But like I said, one of the things that is great with CloudFlex is we do not require that. You like any of our competitors' deployment better? You like what Ross does with their deployment? You like what Viz does with their deployment? Sure, you can run that. And if you then want to import all your instances into CloudFlex, we have a simple onboarding guide. There's a simple script you run. It sets up all the security, all the environment variables, and boom, you're in. Single click access from the dashboard now. Not deployed from CloudFlex, but you can still use it. And that's really well being vendor agnostic and us not being one of the 3 to 5 big vendors that do cloud production software comes in key. Like, we work on the orchestration layer, not on providing the next switcher.
Well, I was going to say too, for those of you who might have existing resources in the cloud, existing machines, and you say, well, I want to use CloudFlex, but I already have a setup. No problem. Like Jonas said, run a script and some custom tags and you're good to go. It'll show up in CloudFlex. We've designed it to be very simple to onboard machines with existing infrastructure. We're very unopinionated in how this runs. So we've used some standard stuff to make CloudFlex recognize the machines and be able to interact with them.
And what I like along those lines is what I often run into is like people like you, Tucker, or I that know how to do cloud production themselves. And like it really works well. Like you run your 1 to 2 shows a week, you have your projects, you deploy, you have a couple of freelancers you work with. But at some point, you always hit the point where you're like, well, now I'm double booked. Now I need to scale. Now I need more people. And now you're searching for the unicorn, right? Hey, I need someone who can debug AWS if there's an issue there, knows how to start, stop instances, which you should guess is simple, but like you trained your freelancer half a year ago and AWS thought that why not design a new console just in time for when you needed to do that new event? And like, that's not what we do. Like, it's simple. You log in, you click start, that's it. And as we add more features, you'll just see more simplicity in us taking away that complexity from the producers and operators that you work with, because they're great at operating. But if you're limited to great operators that also know AWS, your talent pool is so much smaller. So this really helps you increase your talent pool and be like, you're a great TD. You know how to cut on a ROS switcher. Great. We can use
Sure.
our ROS instance. You're a great TD that knows how to card on a TriCaster. Great. Use that. And if they ask you about, but this is cloud production, how does that work? I'm like, okay, you have your interface, you have your multi-view, that's it. That's the same thing like always. Oh, you need access to the machine. It's just like most systems use a KVM anyhow. So instead of clicking Command Alt delete whatever command you need to do there, go to that website, click the button, you're in. So it's really not that different from your on-site experience. If your operators can turn on a computer, they can also use CloudFlex and start doing cloud production. And this really is like what we wanted to do, is like, now you can leverage all your existing client, your existing workflows, and then slowly migrate, if you want to something that's more cloud native. But you don't have to. You can do it right now and enjoy all the opportunities of using a more OpEx focused billing with like this.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk about that too. CloudFlex is designed to be a single fee, a flat monthly fee for platform access. You don't have to add on remote desktop licenses. You don't have to add on extra VPN licenses. You don't have to add on, there's no add-ons. It's the platform for one flat monthly fee, no user limits, invite as many people as you want, and then from there, it's just the infrastructure that you use in AWS. You don't have to run Active Directory. You don't have to run a bunch of extra things to make CloudFlex work. We handle all that for you. You just bring in your operators, fire up your machines in your instances, keeping the pricing surprises low. That's kind of one of the core features of CloudFlex is there are no surprises. You pay for it. It's really easy to estimate cost, and you don't have to tack on all these extra licenses. So when you start adding up all that stuff, you're gonna save, especially when you scale production to more than just a couple of machines.
And also, like, one of the things is we are not just doing lift and shift of like an existing orchestration platform that we had, and we're now putting it into the cloud or something like that. Our company and our platform is built from the ground up to be ready for the cloud. Like, we live and breathe cloud. We know what it means to like manage OpEx and not require heavy amounts of CapEx. We also know that like with every single business, sure, should you buy like a user per user that like freelancer that you use? Yes. But are you really going to on and offboard every single time a user if that changes a billing event and now you have like all of those different bills? No, like definitely not. And I've seen way too many people, as soon as you increase the price of like per user too much, they'll find a way around it. Suddenly that password does get shared and all of the great benefits that you have are not there anymore. And that's one of the things where from the ground up, every tech decision is leading us down the line of what do we want to charge our customers for. And I can tell you it's not users. Like, we do not care if you have 10 or 100 users. We care about the things like instances, all of those things that you will use, that you generate also your projects and your money with. That's the things that we charge for. And that's also, like Lang said, if you self-host it, there's a platform fee. There might be a small fee per deployment that you pay, but if you start your instance, it's your instance. And if we're talking about pricing, we are still working out the details, but we do have project-based pricing right now. We have rough ideas of pricing that we're starting to work with. This is still something that we're working on. This is something, but if you say you have a use case right now, we're ready, we're open. Come to us and we'll have a conversation. We have pricing that's predictable. All of our managed pricing consists of a monthly cost. That's your flat fee, that's your EBS storage, all of that. And then we tack on a per hour usage cost depending on what you use. And that's how simple it is. There's no like, oh, you use that instance. Like, we have our 10 types that you want to use that we deploy, and that is what we charge for. And that's what we do right now. But also, I know that people are going to be out there and they're going to be like, hey, why wouldn't I just like buy the compute myself from AWS? And I say, that is great if you want to do that, but we can't beat AWS's price if you think your time is not valuable. And I think everyone who's watching that, your time is probably at least worth $10. And if it is at least $10 an hour that you want to earn, and you don't want to like deploy your instances yourself, manage all that, have all that hassle, I call it the little opening dance of opening up a new AWS account where it's like, hey, I want to deploy instances. And AWS is like, well, you only get to deploy one instance and we want to see it running all the time and see billing events before we give you the second one. And then you need to explain why you can't just use a single instance and you produce half your show without talent because you can't boot your Zoom room. If you don't want to deal with any of that and think your time is like valuable and want to like give all of that up, that's where our managed service comes in. And I think we're still very competitively priced. And I hope at IBC, where we also will have a booth, is where we will have pricing. We will have it there. We'll be like, hey, this is your production. You run it 10 hours a day for 3 days. This is your price. So that is where we're going to. We got great feedback from the people that joined us for the beta that we had. Like you heard, we had great feedback from our customers. But now that we talked about what all is here in V1, what CloudFlex solves, why we built it, let's talk about what's next. And what's next is there's a couple features, and then there's the big second pillar that we're going to address, deployment. Like I said, it's something that for us is kind of solved on the back end. We're building a great user interfaces and abstracting the complexity of deploying your instances yourself. We're going to do updates to the feed manager. Right now, the feed manager is really basic. Like you create your feeds, assign it to studios, people have access to it, great. But we're going to go further. We're going to allow you to import them off different feed engines. We're going to allow you to share it with your producers so they don't have to create a CloudFlex account, all of that. And then I know all my enterprise people probably screaming right now, but where's my SSO? It's coming. We're gonna have a SAML SSO and OIDC SSO, which I know, boring theme, but that is what you need to do if you want to solve the access piece. You can bring your own SSO, import your users that way. But then the other really exciting thing is, and like Lang said, I really dislike it when you have like 50 disjointed services and nothing manages all of them. So that's where CloudFlex is going to become an OIDC SSO provider, which that means is instead of logging in with 5 different credentials and needing to share those across freelancers, we're going to allow you to use OIDC as a SSO provider. So, hey, maybe you have a different remote desktop solution you want to use, or a different graphics solution or something like that you want to use. This is where we can help you onboard that as an SSO application, and then people still have access. The other thing is that like I said, from the ground up, we're built to be agnostic. We're going to add more flow engines, and we're also going to add more compute providers. Right now, we run everything on AWS, but from the ground up, we're built to also support different cloud providers, which then brings us kind of to the second pillar, like what we believe is required for great cloud production orchestration, and that is control. The first pillar was access. We made great advances in solving that. And the second pillar we want to tackle is control. So instead of just like starting your instance and logging in, we also want to give you all the control that you need over that instance. That is, we're going to have NDI-Core, which is our version of having a router, discovery, all of that tied into CloudFlex. One of the use cases right now is, hey, how do you connect up to Companion? That's one of the things you're going to be able to connect with Companion Satellite through CloudFlex so that access is also secured. Same thing with MIDI, and many more of those things are going to come through through our gateway, which just allows you to verify, hey, who is that user? Do they have access to this resource? Yes or no? And we really want to enable you to control your environment. Right now we manage access and get you in, but we don't really manage what's in there. So that's what's the next pillar is going to be, that control layer. And then we're just going to see what's next. We want to listen to your feedback. So if you have any questions, put them in chat and we will try to answer them.
We have one question. Yeah, we have one question from Kevin, founder of Streamworks, and he's asking about multi-view. And I already know the answer to this, but
yes, that is
how would you go about using multi-view?
Yeah, that's also a great example where like Elias Prunen's NDI multi-view has been really great. And one of the features that we want to have is control over that as well. So that is really like where you see that next step is going to be is like, how do I give my producers a multi-view? How do I give them a router panel? Like, how do I integrate with all of those solutions so they don't have to like VPN in, open up another website, do SSO there? So yes, definitely that is the next step. That is why I believe, and we believe, control has to be the next pillar of what we build.
Well, and I should say something very important too, that we're using CloudFlex to produce this webinar right now. In fact, that's exactly what Tucker is doing behind the scenes. He's using a WebRTC multi-viewer being fed through CloudFlex, and it just makes it easy. So we're using our own tools. That's the really important thing. This is something that we use every day as well. So we're building it for us, but we're also building it for you. And that's why a lot of these features are taking a while, because we are letting our early adopters use it for a while, collect that feedback, and really try to make it something that everybody's going to need and want.
And one of the big things that like is really great from our side is like we use it every day. Like I know that for Tucker, who manages a lot of the production for BSCMP Global, is like the amount of times he had to log into AWS himself and manage that himself has decreased by a good bit. And I know that Tucker, I don't know.
I see him trying to get the multi-view in the into the stream right now, or something like that.
And we are, of course, spoiling the surprise by being too ADHD and be like, scroll, look over there.
Yeah, gotta show you.
But one really interesting use case was that like I like to benchmark our pricing against what our internal costs. Like we right now just use CloudFlex, and isn't that a great multi-viewer?
There we are.
It is in there, and this is an example of like how great integration can look like. You have your names that are automatically populated of the database. You have all your different looks. Audio meters, still one of my favorite things that Elias added lately. And we even added like custom webhooks that allowed you to get the playback info and all of that. So yeah, that's a small behind the scenes look of how that multi-view looks like. And like I said, one of the things is I always like to benchmark when would I use CloudFlex versus like, hey, I can just do it myself. And even as someone like us, Tucker and I, as people who are deeply involved with CloudFlex and know how to do it because we're doing it for CloudFlex, it is starting to make less and less sense to roll your own and just not do it with CloudFlex. Like
I was gonna say, take the shortcuts from us. CloudFlex is like the culmination of 4 years of us learning, trying things, getting frustrated with things not working, and finally figuring out how it's supposed to work. Yeah, just take the shortcut and use CloudFlex.
And that was the interesting thing. Like when I benchmarked our pricing against our internal cost, I realized that, like I said earlier, if my time is worth more than $10 and we spend about a day to get the environment ready and deploy it with our old tools into CloudFlex, I should just use CloudFlex instead of trying to do it my own, even if my time is worth than just $10.
I wanted to talk about about pricing for just a second too. It's just to give you an idea, a small production running a single switcher, maybe 5 to 6 cameras, and a multi-view, and streaming out one feed. That's going to be under $16 an hour. And that's probably a big overestimate, even through our CloudFlex management. So that's kind of a baseline show. And if you think about it, you can't beat that kind of cost. You can't put together any sort of studio for anything like that. If you need to use that cloud environment for 8 hours, 10 hours, whatever, it's incredibly cost effective to do it this way. And like Jonas said earlier, the managed services, if you call us and say, hey, I want to use CloudFlex for a project, we'll put together a quote for you. But the great thing is you don't have to go in and set up your own account. You don't have to go back and forth with AWS to increase limits, because right now, AWS is really strict on GPU limits for brand new accounts. I've had some people reach out to me about this exact problem, and right now they're only approving 8 running vCPUs for brand new accounts until you get some billing history. For long-standing accounts like ours, it's not a problem. If we need more, we request more, we get them. So that's another big advantage you can have. If you need the resources, we can get you those resources.
And it's almost like every single time I'm like, yes, like last time it was the crypto hype, right? Like when crypto mining, it was like at the height, it was like you could make money by mining crypto and AWS, and like suddenly all the GPUs were done, and I know the dreaded no capacity left.
Don't mine crypto in AWS. That's a good way to get your account banned. Just don't do it. Don't do it.
Yep. But back when that was common, we had all the GPU issues, and now it's all the AI training, where if a big player starts retraining their models, you'll see that the GPU access drops. It's always something with those GPUs. That being said, that's all of the things that we manage for you. Like, we take care of the complexity of doing the dance, showing history, all of that. That really is one of the big advantages with CloudFlex, is that we manage that for you. Yeah. And I think if we have any more questions that you saw pop up in the chat?
I'm looking in the chat right now. Kevin says, very nice. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to us. Let's see, who else do we got in here? Shout out to George. He's been here since the beginning. Good morning, George. Is it still morning in Washington, D.C.? I'm not sure. No, it is not. I had to look at my clock. Yeah, no, I'm really excited about where this is going to go, what things we can do with it, and how easy, how accessible it's going to make production. It's another one of the common questions I get is, here's a question from Scott. What challenges do you have connecting to remote sites? In what way? Well, I was going to say, in what way? Bandwidth challenges? Bandwidth can always be a challenge depending on where you are, but it's the biggest challenge, I think, is getting a good read on if you want to send a lot of cameras up from a remote site and you are using an internet connection that you do not control, it can be a very difficult thing to manage and estimate how much actual bandwidth you're going to get during the show when the venue is full of people. Or, you don't know. We like to bring our own connections with us if possible, whether it be cellular bonding or rent a temporary connection for the day. That's the best way to do it. If that's not in the budget, then you just need to make sure you're very, very thorough in testing that connection, or making sure that wherever you are can get you a dedicated slice of that connection with, some filtering or QoS or something that's going to keep all the rest of the traffic off of it.
And what I would say is Scott also did it more specific in a follow-up question, but I think the hardest thing for people that don't use the cloud, where you have like IP addresses you can just use, is getting a connectivity out or in. Like the amount of red tape and hoops it takes to jump through to get a port forwarding or ports opened on an IP address. And like from a corporate experience, like it makes total sense for them. Like all of the systems, just security, everything is trained to prevent data to going out from like some weird data stream sending all your confidential data out, some change of a bad actor changing a switch. So like all of that, the normal interests that they have in protecting the company, making sure that like all of that is secure, all of that is working against you. Because we look from a network perspective, we require open ports, we want open access, there's like new IP addresses connecting, a bunch of data being streamed, most likely encrypted through something like SRT. It looks like an attack. And that is one of the things that I keep running into with corporates, is if you require them to open up ports, they're like, sure, I can do that. And then suddenly, half an hour before the show, everything breaks apart because the automated security compliance system decided that, oh, wait, you opened up ports just today and there's a bunch of data going out, maybe not do that. So that's one of the things where, and I saw that Scott mentioned using TriCaster Vector and NDI bridge isn't connecting from on-site. This is one of the things where it really can be helpful to have a cloud. You set up an NDI bridge on there, the public IP address, and you connect outbound. Some companies still have issues with that, where they like do not allow you to have outbound traffic outside of like 80 and 443 port-wise. But most of the time, getting a port to go in, a lot harder. Getting a port to go out, that's a lot easier. And if that's a common issue that you have, Scott, I would be happy to jump on a call with you and have a look at your setup and see if we can help with that. Because I think, for example, a solution that I see a lot as well for site-to-site connections is just bounce it through the cloud. Like run up an SRT gateway, run vMix. We have done it a lot where we act as an MCR, like you stream to us and we then stream onwards to wherever you want to go. But if there's a failure or you need to have a countdown, you can use that. So like, I think the future is in this type of hybrid production where like you connect multiple systems together. Like, let's say you're watching this right now and you think this all sounds amazing, but all I do is corporate shows stream to Vimeo or YouTube on site. I cannot get enough bandwidth to stream out of that. Here's where CloudFlex could still help you. Let's say you want to have your own little MCR. That's where we come in. You could have a single vMix instance in the cloud. You take your encoder, stream SRT up to that, have your slates, your countdown stairs, so your rehearsals within the venue can still continue right up when you want to go live with your slate. And you can do that all through CloudFlex, make it simple to get access to the instance and stream out to YouTube, Vimeo, or something like that. So even if you think like cloud production isn't for you, this is still a use case, because most people can't afford to build their own data center, but they can afford to rent a sliver of the data center for 1 hour. In the past, it was really complicated. With CloudFlex, we make renting that little sliver of a data center for an hour really easy. So this is why you can suddenly afford things that you couldn't do before. Customers will thank you for being more reliable. And also, this is one of the great things is the cost is tied to your earnings as well. Like that's what I love about cloud. Yes, I get super high cloud bills sometimes where like 3K, 5K, even more in some months. But then you look at your revenue and then you realize, it's quite okay, because what cloud allows you is to scale up and down. And especially everybody in our industry knows how seasonal our industry is. Imagine turning off all of those expenses that you have year round and the depreciating assets. Just turn them off over the summer or the winter or whenever your segment of our industry is going to have its slow period. Just turn them off. You have a really low resting cost, low monthly cost, and you don't incur any more charges, which I think really makes this a no-brainer.
Well, and
do we have any more questions?
No, I don't see any more questions as of right now, but yeah, I was going to say one of my favorite ways to avoid connectivity issues, especially when I'm using the cloud for streaming as a master control, put the cloud in the middle. Send SRT caller from site, so you don't have to worry about any firewall config because you're calling out. Connect to a listener in the cloud, and then on the receive side, do the same thing. Put the receiver in caller mode, call up to the cloud, and just relay it through the cloud. Now you don't have to have control of either network, as long as they don't block outbound ports through the firewall, specific ports. You're fine, and that works 99% of the time. And it's so cheap, it's so inexpensive to just do that relay in the cloud now. There's no reason not to. There's no reason to fight the IT red tape to make to open ports and do those things if you don't have to. Now that workflow is not appropriate for everything, but for transmission and distribution, it'll work just fine.
And what I would also say is, I just saw another question come in from Chirac about how many instances can you get in, and like we're doing an event right now where we had 80 instances in our account managed through CloudFlex, and it was still great. Like you could open up as many as you want. That's the advantage of using nice TCP versus something like Parsec. A, if there's no movement, the bandwidth required is super low, and B, you can open up as many as your computer can handle. And like we have had scenarios where like we want to be able to quickly get into 10, 20 systems. And what we did is we used our web interface for that. Just clicked open on all of those. You have 10 tabs open with all of the instances. They're one click away to make a change, check something, and all of that. Yeah, I think that wraps up this webinar. If you now think this is something that you want, go head on over to our website. We're going to put the link in chat. And I also saw there was quite a lively chat there. So go to cloudflexbroadcast.com. And then if you haven't had enough of us, we're going to be at IBC. There's going to be a CloudFlex broadcast booth there. So come join us there. But like I said, if there's anything you think we can help you with, or you just have enough of the complexities of cloud, we can make cloud really simple for you. So reach out to us at cloudflexbroadcast.com.
There's Tucker. Thanks to Tucker for pushing the buttons and making all this happen. He said he wasn't going to be on camera, but there he is.
Thank you all for watching, and thanks Tucker for the behind the scenes, and thanks Lang for being here.
No problem.
Get you on the next one.